I love the smell of bog in the morning. Woohoo! Welcome to DMOT Garage. We are working back on the 54 Barndoor single cab for the newcomers. Go back through the playlist and you can see me build this thing up from the concrete just down there, because that's pretty much how it started. For the regular viewers, we're back on it and we are getting ready to do some painting. Now, one of our viewers did actually talk about the interior of the treasure chest area being painted in the factory grey colour and not body colour, and that is 100% correct, because I did go back and do a little bit more research. So my single cab, I just went and put colour inside it because that's what we had. But from the factory, and this is from Barndoor right up actually through all the years, they did only have factory grey. Cheapskate Germans, what's going on? Not putting colour in there. But yeah, basically what happened was in this section here, they only did the factory grey in this section in here. I'm not sure about the engine bay. I'll have to dig up some more photos and see whether this was grey or whether that was actually body colour. Anyway, I do have some colour. I do have some factory grey primer, which you guys would have remembered I put onto the ambulance. And also, it's actually already under there. You can see that is the factory grey colour too, because remember we did do a little bit of chassis painting. Not all of it. It still will need to go onto its side later on, but at least means we can continue. Now, before I go painting the treasure chest area, we need to do some seam sealing around some of the welded areas. And from the last episode, you guys would have remembered, we put this section here in. So I just want to go and put a little bead around that. Again, just to stop any sort of fuel fumes coming out, past the dividers. Now, for the keen viewers, we have a fuel tank. My mate Bruce kindly sold us this one. And we also have the mounts. You can see underneath there, the mounts are welded in. And that is the fuel tank that's going to go in here. That is just a stock splitty fuel tank, which will do just right for this. Now, also some, again, more information from our keen YouTube viewers. And someone did tell me that this isn't correct for a barn door. Apparently they do not have the little rubber stoppers for the fuel flap. So we have to delete this, and they do have a rubber seal that runs around it. Now I can confirm that, because if we come outside to the carcass, you can see out here that here's the fuel door that we are going to be using, and you can see that there is the seal that runs around it. So we probably will be able to buy some sort of a seal similar to that. Let's see if I can just pop it out of here. We can take it down to our rubber supplier. There we go, you can see. That's our... So yeah, they just have a little... We'll see whether we can do something with that. We might try and graft that into it, or just modify the one that we've got to look like that. So, because we do want to try and make this look pretty close to the real thing. So anyway, that's one thing we've got to do. So a little bit of seam sealing, and then we can get some grey in here. We are coming into winter, the days are getting real short here in Victoria. I used to love coming down the shed here at 9 o'clock at night and it'd still be light. Now 6 o'clock and she's black, so yeah, it kind of makes it a bit hard to get some work done in the evening. Now let's start blowing this thing out, getting it ready, and we can start doing some seam sealing. Okay, so we're going to start just by putting a little bead along here, and then we can just start hitting some other areas that are going to need it. I've only got one tube. It's the 227, so I'll have to go and get some more, because I'm pretty sure I'll run out of that pretty quickly. Anyway, let's get cracking. We'll just let that tack off and we can scoop it up. Alright, so other spots that we're going to have to do, we probably want to, we want to do along these seams here. Actually that one there I've got to weld that, so I can't do that one. A little bit messy, but like I said, once it gets paint on it, you're not going to see it. It's going to be pretty good. Just go over those bits a bit more. Righto, we'll keep moving on. Okay, so we finished off all the caulking. You can see in the back here, I just ran a little bit of seam seal around all those little cracks, just so no moisture gets into all of them. And that's all done. We'll let that dry and then we can get some paint in there. In the meantime, you can see this is just a mock-up. I haven't actually gone and done anything yet, but I wanted to make sure all the clamps were going to work before I started doing the panel bond. And the stuff we're going to use is called, it's in here, here it is here, 252, and it's a high-strength structural, pretty much the same as panel bond, the 3M. It's just a lot cheaper. Like I think these run here in Australia at about, I think they're like 30 or 35, 40 bucks, something like that. But, you know, you get a lot out of that. So it's a lot better than having those little tiny 3M tubes that cost us a fortune. So the plan here is I'm going to do a couple of strategic plug welds. So I'm going to do one there, one there, one there, two here, and one at a couple at the bottom. But the rest of it is all going to be panel bond. Just going to make it easier down the track for not having to do so much body work. So the idea is I just wanted to test out where all the clamps were going to go, and now that all these are adjusted to click in position, we can get this fired up. And you can see on the inside where I've drawn the line where we have to put the adhesive on both sides and glue it down. So I don't see any other issues here. We're pretty much ready to go. So I'll strip this off now. We'll apply the Sikaflex and get this side glued on. Then we can move on to the other side. All right. So idea now is we will get the panel bond applied and get ready. Right, let's apply some stuff to here. The other side is glued on off camera. Now what I did do is, that's our battery tray that we're going to modify for the, over in the corner there. And we've just been playing around with these sections here, these quarters, again just clear coat in, only because I haven't gone and welded them and glued them, because we've got to get the engine lid on to make sure all these gaps here are going to line up properly, because we can slightly move that in or out on either side depending on where the back engine lid is going to go. Now, the problem with the engine lid is, let's go and have a look at it, It is in bad condition. Now, this is the original lid. We do have to remove the brake light and this lens, which I think is unattainable. I might even have to make that out of Perspex. So it has, unfortunately, a crack down the middle of it, but I will still undo that and see what we can do with it. But, of course, the hinge points are completely gone. They're both, you know, I'm going to have to cut this out and rebuild this whole area. And again, rebuild the entire thing. You can see here, that's gone, that's gone, that's gone, that's gone. Yeah, it's in pretty rough condition. Even the front here needs sheet metal. I suspect once we strip the paint off this, it's going to look a lot worse. Now, hard to get, this little chrome ring, and obviously that's hard to get. So we'll remove these first, try and do it as carefully as we can, and then we're going to have to cut these out and obviously fix that up, and then we can get it over there and put it in position and then finish off that rear end. So once I've sort of got that part done, that is going to be getting close to the rest of the fabrication. There's not much left after that. There's going to be obviously the ribs and the top floor and then the back piece. And inside the cab, there is these little guys that need to be welded on just here. There's one there, and that's still on the remnants of the outside section, so that's got to get put on. And that might be it for metalwork. So yeah, then we move on from there. Now, we are going to do, well, I want to try to get this thing off the chassis table and get it onto some wheels. So that means obviously gearbox, front beam. We do have both. Now, I wasn't going to run the original gearbox, but I think we are going to, because I think we're not going for a 3-inch lowered bus. We want it just a little bit lowered from stock, so I'm going to modify the boss plug, or the little parts inside here that rotate with where the splines are. We're going to actually drill these out and modify that to drop it, because I don't want to do drop spindles on it. This is going to be too difficult being a Barndoor. And I think those reduction hubs, yeah, we can probably just take whatever height out of it we can with just the spring plates and the positioning. So we don't know the condition of the gearbox. I will have to go through that and pull it apart and clean it all and see what it looks like inside. And then there'll be some other little bits and pieces, and we need to weld this bracket here on for the engine stay. And I will have to fabricate some of these little triangular pieces for the back end. You can see here there's another one there. I don't think they're savable, so I'll just have to make those. And then, yeah, that will be the last of the fabrication. And then after that will be, yeah, getting it painted. So it's moving. Let's get on to this now. Okay, so I just used the Dremel and went on the back side here and ground the bolt head off, or the nut I should say, and I reckon that's not too bad. We're going to just put that on the buffer for a second and see if we can buff this up. This one here is in pretty bad shape, but I will sandblast this, and we'll try and cobalt nickel it and see if we can get back a bit of a shine on the inside of it, and just restore this obviously that part there's been broken off from there, so we can probably arrow dart that back on or come up with something to fix that. And that's the original gasket, which yeah, has seen better days. Let's actually, let's just go and try this right now and see what happens if we pop it on the buffer. Check that out. That is almost 70-year-old chrome, and look at that, one like really quick buff up and the thing looks almost bloody brand new. What a joke. I mean, look, you can see inside where I haven't done it, but that's amazing. I've got a little bit more to go, but when you're doing something like this on a buffer, you've got to be so careful that it doesn't grab and rip it out of your hand and destroy the part. Because I'm using a very soft mop here, you've got to be extra careful. These harder wheels You know, you can see they're a lot more solid, but they're more aggressive on something like chrome, and you can really go through the chrome to the copper really quickly with this. So that's why I'm using the very soft aluminium paste and this soft wheel. But this will, you know, if you were to hold it like that and go that way, it'll grab it and just rip it out of your hand. So you've got to be very, very careful. These little areas in here I'll just do with the Dremel. But that, I mean, the majority of it, that's just amazing. Very cool. Okay, so we'll try and do a little bit of stripping, see if we can get the majority of the paint off using the ceramic coral wheel. Okay, this is going to take a lot longer than I thought, so I'm going to switch over to the powered grinder because I don't want to burn this thing out. There's a lot of bog. I think I'm putting a mask on. How nice is that little patty cake? Hum, 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 hum. We having fun yet? My wrist is getting a workout, I'll tell you. Oh, we've got to keep going. Okay, well, after being covered in... this isn't the type of snow I like. I like the stuff up in the mountains. The rest of it, we'll chuck it in the sandblaster and just try and get all these little fiddly areas taken care of. But yeah, you can see she's pretty beat up. There's a lot of bog. That whole thing there was just covered in bog, and they could have easily just tapped it out from the other side. Anyway, okay, we'll go and chuck that in the blaster and see if we can make it look a little bit better. Okay, so we got it out of the sandblaster. I've got to change the media because it's starting to become powder, so it's not as effective as it used to be, but at least I got sort of all in here blasted and up in there. This all needs spot welding back together on both sides. You can see that it's actually separated, which is actually a good thing because I'm thinking what I'm going to do here, this is literally hanging on by that little lip there. I'm going to bend that lip up, pull this entire piece out, and then I can repair this section here and that section there, and obviously treat the rust on the other side of it and then spot weld it back in. Up here, yeah, we'll probably just have to do a patch. These are going to be the hard ones because you can see they're completely ripped out of the mounting points. So I've got to rip those out completely and rebuild them. So that's going to be a bit of work there. The other sides, yeah, it's rough. Look, but you know, these early lids are hard to get. So you've got to repair it. You can't, you know, especially here, we don't have access to, well, a Barndoor single cab rear deck lid. So, I mean, I think it's probably the same as a later 56, 57, but I've got a feeling this hole here is totally different. So I think they are unique for this model. Anyway, let's get the chisel, try and buzz this open and see if we can remove that part there. Well, you can see, not nice, but now at least we can get to it. We can sandblast the rest of this in and repair it. So let's keep going. Okay, we're doing a little bit of mock-up, trying to get the hinges. I've just made some new plates and I'm just tacking them and trying to make sure that we've got a nice gap all the way around. So again, it's just temporary. I just want to try to get it so it's good. I know that corner there has to come up a little bit with the lance, but I'm more worried about the sides there and the top. So we're just going to tack this little section of the hinge here in. That's my little spacer to make sure. I want to get that a little bit closer. Let's give that a bit of a tack. Making sure we're straight there. Come out a little bit. So remove that. Okay, so again, just tacked, really just concentrating on that top line, and these are really rudimentary welds. I mean, this actually should swing open now, so yeah, there it goes. So it's working. Actually, that's really good. Huh. Okay. Just cut from that corner there, but I'm not worried about that. That's nice and square here. And flush. I think we're on a winner here. Alright, we can move on. Obviously get these properly welded in. And then we've got all the other work to do. And there's a lot more work on this to get it perfect. All these need to be fixed. But at least I just wanted to get it hung so I know what's going on with these two. This one here has to come out slightly that way because the gap here is not right. But that's easy to fix. All right, keep going. So we have added a little bit of phosphoric acid. You can see it's done its conversion. And we can now start to tackle these areas here that need to be replaced. So what I'll probably do is just basically cut it straight down here, straight across, straight up, and then weld a piece in there with the fold in it. The back piece is going to be a little bit more difficult because, for one, I don't have a folder, so I've got to do it all on the vise. So this section here, you can see I've just blasted that inside section that we're going to have to play with. So that's the profile that we've got to deal with. And if we come and put it over here, it's going to live like that. So, I mean, realistically, I'm going to have to cut it here and replace all that, cut it here and replace all that, and then those bits there, maybe just backfill those with some copper and just weld those ones up so that we can keep the mechanism all correct. That's probably going to be in the next episode. I reckon that's going to do it for this one. Oh, reminder, merch. If you guys haven't got t-shirts and hoodies and stickers and caps, it's all on the website, so go and check it out. Yeah, so there you go, guys. All right, well, we'll catch you in another episode on the Barndoor single cab, and stay funky.